What's up, y'all? We back. I want to talk about Brandon Marshall and I Am Athlete again, real quick. I made one video on it, so this is going to be like my part 2. I want to explain to y'all my opinion on the disconnect and the malfunction between Brandon Marshall and the Pivot cast. Let's just say that. If you can think back and reminisce when Channing and Fred was all there in support and you had Ocho there, there was a lot of very emotional moments at times. There was a lot of moments where guys would tear up together, hug, embrace. In the beginning, I Am Athlete was a very, very personal, emotional, deep athletes show that allowed not only the audience, but even the guys that were on the show to kind of like detox and release their feelings and some of their past traumas on that show. And the biggest disconnect I saw with Brandon Marshall was he never took things seriously. Like, he could sometimes put on a serious face and act, like he's engaged. But I feel like he was just a typical opportunist. And it seems like he was processing what was going on, but he was always, I can understand it to a certain extent, but I just feel like he was always looking for the next thing to jump to. And sometimes he'll change a subject too fast, and he wouldn't allow certain guys, whether they're guests or the cast, the crew, to go a little deeper in on a subject or express their feelings. It could be emotional, guys are tearing up, and random guys. Okay, guys, so let's move on. We're going to the next step. Like, damn, bro, what you in a rush for? Who are you trying to impress? Why are you in such a hurry to jump to the next subject? Even if you got your cards and you got your stuff written down about everything you want to go over on each episode, sometimes you got to just go with the flow, because that's the best part. That was the biggest highlights of the show, was when there was a deeper connection to the mind of these athletes, the emotion of these athletes, the beliefs of these athletes. It's like, I felt like Brandon Marshall was trying to be too much. You were trying to abide too much like the book. You were out of a book, buddy. Everything don't have to be out of a book for you. Let it be organic, be natural. And I feel like the guys, Fred, Channing, and then eventually Ocho, I felt like they didn't feel like you were authentic and genuine in it. You weren't allowing the show to grow organically. You were more so had an agenda for each episode, some type of an agenda, and it seemed like that agenda would always be some type of a negative or a snake spiteful agenda to try to expose something in someone or cause some kind of controversy. Brandon Marshall, that I Am Athlete was not Love and Hip Hop. It's not Love and Hip Hop, dog. It's not Housewives or Husbands of Hollywood, whatever you call that crap with Kevin Hart and all them. Like, bruh, y'all had your own entity, your own identity. And I almost feel like, I don't know if he was the director or whatever, but I remember it was some episode where it was a white dude. I guess he was supposed to be over it, or he's over the camera crew, or he helped put I Am Athlete together with Brandon Marshall. He said something. I remember as soon as he said it, I was like, don't jinx it, buddy. Because he was like, man, I mean, I feel great about this show and everything, and I just hope we never break apart. I hope you guys, we stay together forever. But just the way he said it, it was two vibes I got from him. agenda vibes and Jinx vibes. Like, golly, bruh. So, and I just felt like Brandon Marshall, you know, I don't know if he has handlers or not, but Brandon Marshall sometimes acts or comes off to me like he has handlers controlling how he operates with people. You know, and maybe that's how he was able to start that, the big platform. You know, you always got to connect with people that, even some people that don't necessarily like you, and some people that you may not necessarily like. You got to do business with some people that, just to get the bag. But I feel like Brandon Marshall was always acting like he had handlers. And I feel like they were coaching him on how to handle Channing, Fred, Ocho, and the show in general. And I felt like he should have took more ownership of himself. I felt like he wasn't thinking organically. I felt like he wasn't operating naturally with the guys. I felt like it was always some kind of agenda. And I just felt like nobody got time for child's play. Nobody likes clowns. Like, not everybody's scared of clowns. I ain't scared of clowns, but nobody likes a clown. And just like as far as personalities, nobody wants to hang around clowns. And Brandon Marshall sometimes will act like a clown. Looks is one thing. Sometimes he look like a clown too. But you act like a clown amongst men who take this stuff very seriously, who knew that they paved the way for the young generation of athletes, and they also knew that they had to inform these young athletes on certain things they need to be aware of, so they won't make some mistakes that some of them made or some of their colleagues made. Brandon Marshall would sometimes interfere with the enlightenment and the information, and a lot of times he would, you know, almost infiltrate himself, or he'll, you know, like you said, he would always try to over-implement himself on certain things, to where it's like, hey, bro, you ain't gotta dominate the whole conversation every time. Let it flow. When someone is talking, be quiet, Brandon Marshall. Give them the floor. Don't keep talking in the middle of their sentence, because it's hard for everybody to still lock in on what that person is saying when you keep saying, oh yeah, just shut up, bruh. So you can be annoying, Brandon Marshall. And I think that's what was the issue. I could see it in the beginning, to where I was like, man, this nigga Brandon Marshall, the character, you know, I feel like Brandon Marshall was a character. So Fred and Channing had to do what was best for them. And Ryan was a great business partner to connect with after they left I Am Athlete and Brandon Marshall. And Brandon Marshall, you're just looking salty. You're looking like a hater when you're hating on them. They have a right to move on and do what they have to do. If you put that money up yourself and you ask these guys to help join you, and they helped you build that platform, don't try to throw them under the bus. You made that decision. You made that investment. And you bet on yourself, man. So, man up, brother. But when you do that, you have to agree with Fred when he said he's the biggest coward. Like, yeah, that's some cowardly stuff to do, bro. No. But I'm not surprised that Brandon Marshall would do something like that, because you've had your issues, sir. But we know you've battled some mental illnesses and you've been diagnosed, so I'm trying to respect that, bro. But you got to respect men as men. Don't play with their life. Don't play with people's life, bro. Show respect.